Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Today we are breaking down one of the best thief builds in Dragon's Dogma 2, which includes the best weapons, gear, augments, and skills to use. This vocation excels in speed, damage, range, and offers incredibly powerful skills for your character. You'll notice just how powerful this vocation is as you level up and unlock skills like formless feint, which makes you invincible and immune to damage, and Blades of the Pyre, which synergizes perfectly with formless feint to turn you into an unkillable ticking time bomb. Some skills perform better against mobs during exploration, and others, like Skull Splitter for example, are very effective against larger enemies. There's a lot of important aspects to consider when building your thief, including height, weight, equipment load, and the gear that you're wearing. This guide is designed to help you create the best possible thief in Dragon's Dogma 2 and provides a blueprint to make your thief increasingly more powerful as you level up other vocations. Your appearance plays a huge role in the effectiveness of your thief, primarily your height and weight. Although the thief skills are incredibly powerful, you won't be able to utilize them to their full potential unless you have good stamina control and a lighter equipment load. This is why I recommend making your thief a lot smaller compared to other members of your party. What you sacrifice in survivability, you gain in speed, range, and damage. The great thing is, you won't have to worry about dying with this build since one of your skills turn you invincible during combat as long as you have enough stamina. To sum things up, the thief is all about speed and stamina control. If you focus on a smaller build, you'll find it incredibly easy to spam your skills more often, your movement will be faster, and you'll always be able to grab onto enemies and hold on to them for a longer period of time. Next, let's talk about the best skills to use for the thief, starting with Cutting Wind. Known as Biting Wind before upgrading, it's actually the very first skill you unlock as a thief. This skill offers a lot of range during combat, allowing you to dash past targets with blades extended, and makes it incredibly easy to close those gaps when enemies are running away or just moving too quickly. It also makes it easier to get behind targets in a shorter amount of time. If I'm not using Cutting Wind in this skill slot, then I'm definitely using the Implicate skill, which is an advanced form of Ensnare that allows you to pull targets with greater force. This skill is very useful against flying enemies, which can be difficult to hit. It also works great for pulling targets closer to you so you can blow them up with Blades of the Pyre. Either way, both skills are great for closing gaps and opening up more opportunities for DPS. The second skill on this build, probably the most powerful thief skill in the entire game right now, Formless Feint. This skill accelerates your character's reactions to an ungodly degree, enabling you to evade all manner of attacks from hostile targets. As long as Formless Feint is active, you are going to be invincible. Since this skill consumes stamina while active, it's important to keep your stamina in control, and the easiest way to do this is to create a smaller character and never exceed a light equipment load. If you do those two things, you'll find it incredibly easy to keep Formless Feint active for a longer period of time, which will make you more lethal in the process. Now, Formless Feint and the next skill that we're going to cover soon cannot be unlocked simply through leveling. These powerful skills are obtained as you progress through the story and eventually reach the Nameless Village all the way in the eastern part of the map. You can also make this skill even stronger if you speak to the Dragon Forged NPC at the Bay Wayside Shrine during New Game Plus. You'll unlock an option to upgrade Formless Feint so it costs 50% less stamina to cast and during use. Blades of the Pyre is the third skill on this build, and it's incredibly powerful while Formless Feint is active. This skill brings your daggers together to ignite, coating them in a blazing inferno so potent that the user cannot escape being burned. At first glance, it may seem risky to use this skill since you take damage when casting it, but this is where Formless Feint comes into play. If you remember, as long as Formless Feint is active, you will be immune to damage, which means you activate this skill without any cons whatsoever. The most important thing is to make sure Formless Feint is active before you activate Blades of the Pyre. This skill does a lot of damage and can easily one-shot mob enemies and take big chunks of health off of larger monsters, especially ones that are weak against fire, like griffins for example. For For the last skill, I'm using Skull Splitter, which is actually one of the most effective skills to use against larger enemies. Skull Splitter is an advanced form of Helm Splitter that employs a faster spin to deliver a greater number of slashes, providing more DPS in the process. When timed and positioned correctly, this skill can deal some serious damage against even some of the most powerful enemies in the game. Just like every other skill on this build, Skull Splitter is even deadlier when combined with Formless Feint. Now for combos, you have several options. The first skill you should activate before doing anything else is Formless Feint. You can close gaps and rush enemies with Cutting Wind, which puts you in a position where you're close enough to unleash Blades of the Pyre and make everything close to you burn and explode. Or you can pull your enemies towards you with Implicate and activate Blades of the Pyre there. In most situations, you're either getting closer to your enemies or you're bringing them closer to you so you can unleash Blades of the Pyre and destroy anything that gets in your way. For augments, all you really need is the Thief's augments to be efficient and successful during combat. But you can make the build slightly more powerful by utilizing some other augments from different vocations. Subtlety decreases the likelihood of being targeted by foes. Gratification restores health when you deliver a killing blow. Poise reduces stamina consumed when struggling in a foe's grip. Vigor reduces stamina when clinging onto enemies, and Verve augments your strength, giving you more damage. Some other augments I recommend using include Endurance from the Archer vocation, which increases your maximum stamina, Avidity, which enables you to clamber up cliffs and scale foes more quickly. You also have Exaltation from the Mage vocation, which augments your stamina recovery speed, Athleticism from the Mystic Spearhand vocation, which reduces stamina cost while dashing, and Thu from the Fighter vocation, which enables you to carry additional weight, helping you to control your equipment load a lot easier. For weapons and armor, your options slowly start to open up as you progress through the story and unlock more cities and vendors. Looking at weapons first, I use the default daggers that you start the game with for a majority of my playthrough until I reached the Waterfall Cave in the North Vermin region where I found the Pelt Flayer's daggers. It was a nice upgrade to what I had and carried me all the way to Bakbatal, where I spoke to the weapons vendor and purchased the Batali Biters. After I completed the game and started New Game Plus, I was able to purchase the legendary Heaven's Key daggers from the weapons vendor in any city. These daggers and many more endgame weapons and armor are available for purchase after completing the game and are currently the strongest weapons in Dragon's Dogma 2. The Heaven's Key daggers come equipped with high base damage, magic damage, slash strength, and 45% holy damage affliction on enemies. These are currently the strongest daggers in the game, and that holy damage is very effective against a handful of enemy types, including the undead and certain beasts that you run into. For armor, you're encouraged to maintain a light equipment load, so you can't always go for the armor that offers the most protection. The gear that I'm currently wearing here was purchased from various vendors, specifically around Bakbatal. This set includes the Confidant's hood, the Vanquisher's armor, the Mercenary greaves, and the Abyssal neck wrap. This gear allows me to maintain a lighter equipment load at all times. It provides decent protection, which won't matter much since you have Formless Feint to keep you alive, but most importantly, I love the appearance of the armor, which I think looks very clean, almost resembling Assassin's Creed in my personal opinion. For the rings, I have the Ring of Momentum, which moderately boosts maximum stamina. Again, stamina plays a huge role in this build because it determines how frequently you can use your skills and the duration of Formless Feint. On my right finger, I have the Ring of Skullduggery, which increases damage dealt when attacking foes from behind. Super useful during boss fights and mobs, and with Cutting Edge, you'll find it incredibly easy to get behind enemies quickly. The last thing I wanted to discuss is your main pawn and other members of your party. If you choose to play with pawns, there's a handful of things you can do to make them more efficient during your adventure. For example, my main pawn here is a level 45 fighter. I wanted a fighter by my side to pull aggro and play support on the team. So I equipped him with the Batali Shuttle, sitting at 511 strength, some really good gear, which provides a lot of defense for my pawn, most importantly. Isaac here also has the Ring of Regeneration, which lets him recover health after defeating a foe, and the Ring of Disfavor, which increases the likelihood of being targeted by foes. This will let Isaac always have the enemy's attention, opening up more opportunities for you to attack. For my fighter skills, we have Burst Strike, which is a powerful lunge with really good damage and range, Flawless Guard for more survivability, Divine Defense for an extra layer of protection. Again, this pawn's purpose is to pull aggro and stay alive. And lastly, Shield Drum, which draws the attention of all enemies nearby. I also recommend adding a mage to your group if you can, primarily one that specializes in support spells that either heal you or maybe replenish your stamina, and even spells that imbue your weapons with different affinities, like fire or lightning, for example. You can also add a second thief to fill up your group, and look for one that specializes in skills that work well against enemies that can fly, like implication or even concussive leap. Thieves will also help you when you're climbing on top of larger enemies, so they essentially copy everything that you will be doing. This concludes the ultimate thief guide for Dragon's Dogma 2. Thank you all so much for being here and sticking around until the end. I'm currently working on a Mystic Spearhand character that you definitely don't want to miss out on. So, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more Dragon's Dogma 2 content coming soon, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more.